This is your ETFinalscore.com preview show. I'm Trevor Pill alongside Travis Yosting and Chris Perry. The Texas High School football playoffs are upon us here in East Texas. With games starting this Thursday, you can say that the playoffs start a new season because it's win or go home. Plenty of teams from around the area to keep us busy. Let's dive right into some playoff action now. Thursday night, we have an undefeated game going on. We got the Van Vandals who are taking on the Paris Wildcats. Can you expect from this game, Chris?
Van comes in here on a roll, and they've been really taking it to every team they play. It's a shame that when you get to the playoffs, you have to play another undefeated team. Sometimes that just happens in the Texas high school football playoffs. I just believe that this is kind of Van's year. I mean, they canceled Halloween, for crying out loud. They postponed it a day so everybody could go and enjoy the football game. So I think the Van Vandals are going to have too much for Paris.
What do you think about this, Travis?
Yeah, I kind of see it kind of the same way. You know, I think Van's kind of due for a good playoff run. I'm not sure how far they can go. It depends on the matchups, but I think they'll get past Paris.
Yeah, that's going to be a game that we will be providing highlights for on ET Final Score on the Twitter and Facebook. Again, that game is on Thursday night. Now let's switch our gears over some TAPS division. All schools in except for All Saints, unfortunately. Now Brook Hill is the lone school that's going to be playing here at home. They will be playing Houston North Christian. What can you expect from this game?
I think Brook Hill's going to do what they've been doing. You know, they earned that one seed barely, of course, with the tiebreaker, but they're going to take advantage of that. And of the four teams that are coming out of that Houston district, Brook Hill has the easiest draw by far.
What do you think?
Well, they showed that they've got some depth. Mm-hmm. They played the McCune kid at running back. They've lost Brasher, their wide receiver, their top-notch wide receiver, and they've shown they've been able to kind of take a few hits and keep on ticking. And I think those things are going to really benefit them in the playoffs.
Now, you get Grace and TK both had that long drive to Houston. Which one of these TAP schools do you think have the best chance of making a run in the playoffs?
Well, I like Brook Hill because when you're the district champion, but I think Grace is a much better team than what they showed against Bishop Gorman. I think that's a rivalry game. Gorman was up for it. The coach at Gorman used to be the coach at Grace. It was just set up perfectly for an upset. I really think in the long run, I think Grace is probably going to end up going the furthest.
Grace, what do you think, Travis?
I think it could go either way. You know, Grace has a pretty tough draw. They're playing a team that has over 5,000 yards of offense. You know, they're the top seed from that district, of course. Gorman, it's kind of a good story. They're going up against former Brook Hill coach Terry Pirtle, and he used to coach with and coached the Gorman coach Kobe Gibson in high school. So that'll be a fun game to watch as well.
Again, Bullard will be here. We will have footage from the Bullard-Brook Hill game coming 7 p.m. on Friday. Now, another game I think will be the most exciting first round, and it's actually right here at Trinity Mother Frances Rose Stadium. And we're actually going to have, I believe, Lufkin and Longview. Both these teams look fairly good. It's going to be a great game. What do you think, Chris?
Well, they know each other so well. They play each other every single season. And
twice this year.
This will be their second time this year. Longview has just dominated East Texas, except for Lufkin and John Tyler occasionally. Those are the two teams that have been able to kind of get one over on the Longview Lobos. I just think that Longview had its hiccup at the beginning of the season, and they got things rolling, and I think they're just going to keep on. They know what they're doing. It's playoff time. This is what they do. And I believe Longview, and I don't think, when's the last time Longview lost at Rose Stadium?
Well, they won 14 in a row, 16 of the last 17, so that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, they've just been really good, and it's been a home away from home for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you look at Longview, you know, they're definitely playing better. They've got Michael Hasty back, and that's obviously a big factor for them. But the question will be, how much is their improvement based on the competition, and how much is it based on them growing as a team? They'll get the test. They'll find out on Friday against Lufkin.
Yeah, another big game that we will have footage from. Let's head to one of our sponsors. When we return, let's talk some more Rose City football.
At Kelly Community Federal Credit Union, we have a monopoly on savings. So cruise on over to a Kelly Community branch today for big savings on loan rates and better earnings on deposits and investments.
At Kelly Community.
Welcome back. I'm Trevor Pill with Chris Perry, Travis Yosting. Chris, you had a chance to talk with Coach Pisky a little bit about some playoff football. Let's take a listen to that.
Coach, first of all, let's just talk about getting to the playoffs. It was something that was a goal that your team set out at the beginning of the season and off season and spring, and you were able to accomplish that. Just talking about that.
Yeah, we didn't take the easy route to get there, but you know, these guys have worked hard and just hung in there, and you know, it's kind of a tribute to this senior class. That's what they're all about. You know, they've had some rough years, and it's down to about 30 of them. So the 30 that hung in there and did what they needed to do to be a part of the program, you know, got rewarded, and I think that's good for them.
When you're talking about, first of all, Waco Midway, first of all, let's talk about them just as a team. What kind of things do they present? They're another undefeated team.
Well, they're really good. You know, they're good in all phases. They got great tradition. Played for the championship a few years ago against Lake Travis. Been 3 or 4 rounds deep since they moved up to 6A. And, you know, they're just solid on offense. They're solid on defense. Got, you know, good running back, good quarterback. O-line's pretty big. I compare them to Rockwall a lot, except their O-line's bigger. And pretty good O-line. Defensively, they got a lot of speed. They're not just huge all over, but they got a lot of team speed and play really well. And then, of course, on special teams, they're sound. So they're just, I mean, there's a reason they're 10-0.
Now, Chris, the Red Raiders, you know, last week they get into the playoffs with a little bit of help from Rowlett beating Garland Saxe to solidify them in the playoffs. Just like Coach said, they were playing an undefeated Waco Midway team. Do you have any insight on this Waco team?
They're very, very good on offense and defense. The Coach Piskey really compares them a lot to Rockwall, but Lee did not get a chance to see Rockwall's passing game because their starting quarterback, didn't play in that game. Whereas Waco Midway, their quarterback is fantastic, and they've got a wide receiver that I believe is committed to Baylor.
Okay, now what do you think the Real needs to do to try to lead this game with an upset?
Well, they need to do what they've been doing for the last 5-6 weeks on offense, which is score almost every time they get the ball. Defense is just going to have to hold and not give up the big play. I think Lee's defense has improved, but what they've been getting burned on the last couple weeks is they've been giving up big plays, especially in the running game. And Waco Midway, they've shown that they can do it either passing or running the football. I think this is going to be a game where the secondary for Robert E. Lee is going to be tested again because they've improved, but no one's really gone at them. I would think the last couple weeks because they've had so much success running the football. So we'll see what happens against Midway.
One other thing, you had a great article about the O-line picking up tempo and the speed and having more plays than the opposing team. Do you think we can see that with Real in this game?
I think you're going to see it both ways. Waco Midway does the exact same thing. I'm going to be exhausted on Friday trying to keep track of all the statistics and plays, and that game is going to be nuts if things go like they could, where both teams going back and forth. But Midway has shown, Midway's beat some really good football teams this year. So I think this is definitely going to be Lee's biggest test of the season.
And that game is on Friday, 7:30 p.m. at McLean Stadium, home of the Baylor Bears. Let's switch gears over with Travis. Travis, she spoke with Coach Holmes of the Lions. Let's take a listen of what Coach Holmes had to say about the playoffs.
You know, going into the playoffs with Gio having a year of experience under his belt, playoff experience under his belt, how much do you think that'll help him?
I think it's going to help him a lot. It helped him, tremendously during the season, letting them know that, the little mistakes that he did make in the 2013 season is what cost us the success that we needed to have that year. And he's pretty much taking care of that, making sure he makes better decisions and taking care of the football.
Is that kind of a common theme for this team? A lot of the guys are a year older. Since you returned so many guys, they've got a little more experience.
Understanding is just better, and I guess that does come with experience.
Well, Travis, you know this team. You cover them year in, year out, come to playoffs times. The Lions would be facing a Texas High team. What do you know a little bit about Texas High?
Yeah, Texas High, they finished second in the district to Longview. They come in with a pretty good record. They don't quite match up favorably against JT in terms of common opponents because JT beat Longview and White House, and Texas High lost to White House and Longview. So in that regard, if you look at it on horse racing terms, then JT would be the definite favorite.
Now, like we talked about, you can't count any team out coming into the playoffs because it is win or go home. What players for JT need to step up to ensure a win and to go into the second round?
Yeah, I think you look at quarterback Giovanni McAllister. He didn't have a great game in the playoffs last year. A lot of that was due to a very windy stadium that day. But if they can get their passing game going and along with the running game, which has been very consistent for them, they should be able to move on.
Another one to keep your eyes on. That game is just down the road in Longview again. You got JT taking on Texas High. Now let's move on to our picket line. You're both 18-7 overall on the season right now, so you're neck and neck. Last week's Chapel Hill and Sulphur Springs ended up with the loss. Have 5 more games, 5 picks, and that's it. First one we're going to start off with is the Longview game.
Longview.
Yeah, I think Longview, they've got on the right track, and they're going to win it.
And then we have Knack and Marshall.
Nacogdoches, they didn't look that great against JT last week, but I think they're holding back a little bit.
Marshall is a team that is back to the playoffs, kind of like Lee, that's found itself, but I just think Nacogdoches has too much for them.
Nacogdoches, and then you got Tatum and Bullard.
This is crazy. I mean, if you asked me this 2 or 3 years ago, I would never pick Bullard to beat Tatum because Tatum has just been so loaded. But I think Bullard, this is going to be kind of their statement game where they show that they've arrived. I picked the Bullard Panthers.
I think Bullard's got a shot, but I'm going to have to pick Tatum.
And then, of course, we got John Tyler and Texas High.
This is not going to be close. As long as John Tyler takes care of offense, Texas High has a good defense, but I think John Tyler just has too much offense. Just can't make mistakes, can't turn it over, those types of things in the playoffs. I think the Lions win comfortably.
Travis?
Exactly. As long as JT isn't turning the ball over 3 or 4 times, then JT should win.
And then the final pick of this 5 games is going to be Waco Midway and Tyler Lee.
You don't become 10-0 with no reason. Got to go with Midway.
And I'm going with Robert E. Lee to pull the upset. I really think I've gone back and forth. I was talking to Travis before we went on air. I've gone back and forth with this. If their defense makes enough stops, I've not seen a defense stop Lee's offense. And Waco Midway has in their district, they've just rolled through their district, so they really have not had competition since non-district play. I think something like that may come back to haunt them now once we get to this point. I think if Robert E. Lee can be in the game in the fourth quarter, I think they can pull off this upset.
Awesome, and that's going to be something to keep our eyes on as well. On Facebook and Twitter, of course, you guys can keep an eye out, following both of them on Twitter to see what teams are doing. John Tyler with Travis, and then, of course, the Robert E. Lee Red Raiders with Chris. Now, here on the preview show, our main attraction has been football all season long, but as long as the playoffs are here, we want to gradually start bringing some other sports into the mix. Now, right now, we're going to start talking about some girls basketball. Both of them are going to give us a little insight since they've already kicked off. First off, I'm going to have Travis. Travis, what can we expect from the Lady Lions this year?
You can expect a fast, talented team that, based on last night, they've got talent 1 to 10. They graduated 5 seniors, but they brought in a couple young players that are going to join in the big 3 of Amia Wickware, Ashton Beal, and Tamil Jones, and they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in East Texas.
Awesome. And now, Chris, the Lady Red Raiders, they have a new coach. What can they improve on this year?
Well, they need to improve on, based on what I saw last night and talking to the coach, they just need more scores. They need to be more confident on offense. I think the girls are still a little timid with their shooting, and White House was able to beat them by grabbing rebounds, really controlling the paint on the inside. But I think it's gonna be. It's hopefully is a growing process throughout the season to where they're where they need to be once district starts, because it's a tough district.
Well, that's something to look out for. Both girls basketball is kicked off. Guys basketball will soon start their season as well. Again, we want to slowly bring these sports into the mix to talk about a little more all season long. Guys, thank you for your time today. That is going to wrap up another ETFinalscore.com preview show. Remember to stay locked in with us throughout the playoffs as we will continue to bring you live highlights from schools around the area. It's getting cold outside, so bundle up at home and enjoy what we have to offer you. Also, all the playoff games are in the ET Final Score app and on the scoreboard, so you can stay updated on all schools and games around the area. We'll see you next week.